This is my full card recap of UFC Fight Night Namajunas vs Cortez. I'm going to go through and show you my prediction results for the card, as well as just talk through most of the notable fights and notable things that happened on this card. This is going to be a bit of a quick recap, just due to the fact that I've been pretty busy and I've been making other videos like the greatest UFC fight of all time. That video just got put out yesterday, so please go over and give that video a watch, guys. I'm going to link that video in the description of this video. But to move on, these are my UFC Fight Night prediction results. As you can see, we went 4-1 in the prelims and 3-2 on the main card, besides the one no contest. The Evan Elder vs Darrius Flowers fight, I did not predict that fight. It was a late addition to the card. I probably would have gone with Evan Elders though, just because he was an overwhelming favorite over Darrius Flowers, I believe, and I've seen quite a bit of Darrius Flowers fight before. I'm going to jump into the first fight. So I did watch this fight a little bit. Evan Elder really just imposed himself on Darrius Flowers in this fight, got him down and submitted him. Not really much to say about this fight in particular. It was pretty much just a one-sided Evan Elder fight. Not surprised why he was such a heavy favorite going into this one. We move on to Josh Fremd versus Ange Petroski. Not the most exciting fight on the card. Ange Petroski just really controlled Josh Fremd this whole time. Like, he was just wrestling. Like, if you went to look at the replay for this fight in particular, Ange Petroski was just lying on top of him basically for the entirety of the fight. So round 1, 2, and 3. He did show that he was the better fighter, at least in this matchup. Showcased his wrestling over Josh Fremd. But yeah, more of a lackluster performance. Good performance for Ange Petroski, just not the most exciting fight to watch. We move on to Luana Santos versus Mariya Agapova. So for this matchup, once Luana Santos got Mariya Agapova to the ground, it was pretty much all over from there. She just kept holding for submissions the entire time. She was holding an arm triangle. She ended up switching to a rear naked choke. Great performance by Luana Santos. Quick fight, first round submission. Great work by her. We move on to Montel Jackson versus Blackshear. Now this fight, this wasn't really a fight because it only lasted 15 seconds, but it was crazy while it lasted. I was talking to someone in my comment section of my prediction video, and they were saying I don't know what he was doing, and I will be honest, I have to agree with that guy. It's hard to figure out what he was going for in particular. It looked like he was trying to throw a fake knee into something. He was just too close, and it ended up being a fatal mistake for Blackshear. Regardless, great win for Montel Jackson, and happy I picked him because his power is different in this division. Jasmine Jasudavicius versus Fatima. Great performance from Jasmine Jasudavicius. She showcased her grappling more so. Like, she out-grappled Fatima in this fight. I was very surprised about that. I thought she would just go for the success on the feet, but Fatima actually had a little bit more success on the feet than I thought she would. Not to say that she was outstriking Jasmine Jasudavicius, but she looked better on the feet than I thought. Got dominated in both the stand-up and the ground game, so great stuff by Jasmine Jasudavicius. Joshua Van versus Charles Johnson. This was a crazy one, guys. Charles Johnson looked sharp on the feet, but you could tell Joshua Van was starting to heat up at the end of the first and into the second round. Van kept coming in, and he was clipping him with an overhand right, but credit to Johnson for staying composed and sticking to his game plan. He caught Van beautifully and then finished him off with a massive uppercut. And people who are saying that Van is ruined as a prospect are just delusional. He's 22 years old, man. He's a very young guy, and it wasn't a terrible performance. He'll come back strong, and I think he can still do well in the division for sure in the near future. Congrats to Charles Johnson though. Great performance by him. We move on up the card to Abdul Razak Alhassan versus Cody Brundage. I'm going to say this first. I had picked Abdul Razak Alhassan to beat Brundage in this fight, and I definitely think it was going to go that way most of the time, but he most definitely hit him on the back of the head multiple times. I know it looked like Brundage was milking the situation to get the no contest or disqualification win, but he did receive those strikes, and it was Abdul Razak Alhassan's fault creating this situation. It was a terrible fight result for the fans and for the fighters, but Abdul Razak Alhassan is the one to blame, so do not go out there blaming Cody Brundage, although it did look like he was milking the situation a little bit. Let's move on from that to Julian Erosa versus Christian Rodriguez. Great fight to watch. I can't believe someone that can defeat so many top prospects like Raul Rosas Jr. and Cameron Simon can lose in the first round to Julian Erosa. It's not to say Julian Erosa isn't good or anything like that. He looked good and he was working for the submission. I just didn't expect this to be the fight that I would lose a prediction on. It was a great sub by Erosa, great finish by him. Congratulations to him for the win. Not much else to say. Moving on, up the card to Gabriel Bonfim versus Ange Loosa. Not much to say, it was a solid win from Gabriel Bonfim. Definitely had his number on the feet in this fight, and although I had Bonfim winning, I could really feel Ange Loosa's corner when they were telling him to get going. I'm sure they would have been disappointed in him at the end of the fight because it seemed like he got stunned into not throwing anything back on the feet for at least the entire last round of this fight. Regardless, This was a solid win for Bonfim, a little bit of a disappointing showing for Ange Loosa, but that's how it goes sometimes. I did pick Bonfim to win, so I'm pretty happy with that. We move on up the card. Dober versus Silva. This was a crazy fight. Silva was amazing. Fantastic performance against someone like Dober with 2 fights in 2 weeks. I didn't expect him to rock Dober the way he did, and he almost put him away as well with an insane spinning elbow. I did say in the prediction video that I thought Silva would have the speed advantage in this fight, and that he would most likely be more technical as well, but I didn't think it would be this much of a disparity. Fantastic performance on short notice, upper weight division against Dober. We've definitely got a star on our hands, guys. Look out for Silva. Up the card, Santiago Ponzinibbio versus Muslim Salikhov. Didn't see many people apart from myself picking Salikhov, so this pick coming true was super nice for me. He looked to be the more technical and active fighter, and he was picking apart Ponzi from range. I honestly thought he won the first 2 rounds in my opinion, and then the last round was close, but I need to go back and watch it. Didn't think it was a split decision though. I don't know who's calculating the UFC stats, but I think they were incorrect quite a bit during this card. They aren't usually the best as well. Decent entertaining fight from these two, and we move on to the main event. Namajunas versus Tracy Cortez. I think a lot of people had in their minds already that Rose was going to be too much for Tracy Cortez at this point in her career, and it really did show in this fight. Not the most entertaining fight on the card. Probably the most entertaining thing was to watch the early knockdown, and then the slow-mo of the eyelash flying away into the sky. It was a solid performance from Rose. Keen to see who they match her up against next. Great stuff. Overall thoughts though, like I mentioned earlier, this card was solid, and I hope the next one, although it looks lackluster as well, is able to be pretty exciting and have some bangers put on it. Anyways guys, thanks for watching the quick recap. If you like the channel, leave a like or a comment and subscribe for more MMA content. See you guys next time.